Hello, everybody. We are live. This is the Lutherie Live Lounge. My name is Joe. And yes, welcome, one and all. If we'd like to introduce ourselves to start off with. So, if I can do there we go. To my right, to the viewer's right, left, whatever. It's confusing because it's all different. Anyway, so next to me is Julia. If you'd like to introduce
Hi.
yourself.
Sure. My name is Julia Felix. I make violins and violas, and I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm a graduate of North Bennett Street School.
Great. And further over that way, God, this is difficult. Further over that way is Jose.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jose Nebro. I am from Spain, originally Malaga, and I moved to New York about 38 years ago. Mainly what I do is classical guitars, and I have done a few ukuleles, but my thing is classical guitars.
Cool. And below me, to the viewer anyway, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Is that me? I see another person. Oh.
Yeah, somebody's trying to come in.
You?
Hi there. I'm JT Turner. I'm in North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina, and I build dulcimers, mountain style dulcimers.
Oh, cool.
Cool. And your wild strings, is it?
Wild Sparrow Strings. Yeah, that's my company.
Wild Sparrow. Sorry, Wild Sparrow Strings.
Well.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome one and all. And yeah, I guess I should mention. So, my name is Joe, and I build and repair, mainly build ouds, lutes, historical instruments, world instruments, all sorts of stuff.
I see. I see. Jason has came in.
Is that Jason?
He's frozen, but yeah, that's his picture.
Oh, I can hear you.
I
Yes,
can
hello.
hear you, yeah.
Welcome.
Uh-oh.
Okay, you might want to try going out and coming back in again, I think, because your audio is freezing slightly as well, but never mind. So, where should we start? So I guess last time we had guitar makers and obviously myself, and we were talking a lot about the construction of oud bodies particularly. Now, obviously, this time we have a violin maker, which is new. So tell us a bit about what you're currently working on, Julia.
Well, I'm doing a few things. I usually have a few projects going at once just so that I always have something to be doing. So right now I'm very, very close to finishing up this violin, which I've actually been working on forever.
Okay.
I'm really excited.
I must have missed out on something. Are y'all waiting on me or waiting on someone else?
We're waiting on, let me see, 4 more people, so it's fine.
Okay.
Sorry, Julia,
right.
carry on.
Oh, sure.
Oh, it's okay. I'm currently working on a crossover classical guitar, and you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just cut off Julia. She was about to talk.
Yeah,
I think that there is a lag time between Jason and the rest.
So.
Yeah.
There it goes. But yeah, I'm working on this guy. It's almost done. I've just got a few things left on it. Obviously
Cool.
bridge, tailpiece. I've got to do the pegs still and all that. But I also have. I'll go grab it real quick. I've got like these plates that I'm working on for my next instrument.
Yeah, I've got I got a bus a wheel turning. It looks like it's buffering. So y'all may want to carry on without me.
Uh-oh.
I'll just kind of listen in.
Okay. Yeah, let us know.
Can you do audio only, maybe?
I'm sorry.
Could you maybe try doing just audio? Would that work?
Okay, just audio. Okay, let me try that.
Let's give it a go.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, we've lost Jose. Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. Yes, I'm currently working on a 640 millimeter scale classical crossover, and I'm down to waiting for the French polish to cure, and have started a Antonio Torres as a historical guitar, the
Okay.
FE01, which was originally built in 1854. And it's taken me quite a while of gathering enough information to be able to build this guitar. But luckily, I've had some good resources and a lot of good people helping me gather information and what have you. And I have started on the bracing of the top.
Cool. Is
Great.
And
am I allowed to ask questions?
basically, that's what I do: build classical guitars.
Of course you are.
I was just wondering.
and try to base them on historical Torres models.
Okay.
I was just
I think we're
curious,
having
you
some
said-
problems with lag here. Julia, please, you
Yeah.
had a question?
Yeah, he said classical crossover, and I was like, I don't know what that means. Just curious what that is.
So I guess it's a little bit between a classical and a more American style guitar, still using nylon bag with the narrower neck, and much more between a parlor American and classical. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Aren't parlors are a little bit smaller, aren't they?
Yeah, they are smaller, but I was mentioning that because you got the jumbos and the all the big, large guitars, American style, and the parlor is more closer to the
Okay.
classical.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I played
So-
classical guitar for a very long time. It's just I don't
You
actually
did?
know anything about them, so
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Like when I got into violin making, I was like, wow, like I really did not know anything about this instrument I've been playing for a long time.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
When I play guitar before I started building, and for sure I knew nothing about the construction of it. I started building classical guitar from a book. I was playing. I injured my hands, my fingers on the left and the right hand, and so I couldn't play, and I was going crazy. So I needed something to figure out what to do with my time. I started to reading a book about building, and I said, I'm gonna do this. And I built a guitar by following that book. But I had to go
Cool.
back to Spain to learn. I took an intensive course in Spain. I went back to learn the craft because what I was doing, I was fumbling. So I spent 3 months down there playing with, working with the master Lutherie, learning how to build classical guitars. And then I came back and I've been building ever since.
Cool.
That's so cool. Was that an official school or was it a?
No, it's
Okay.
actually, I am from Malaga, and I found a luthier in Malaga that was carrying a course on building a guitar. So he does about 4 courses a year. And so I went back because it just happened that he lived in the next town from where I grew up. In that course, you build a classical guitar from the grounds up. Starting from the rosette, neck, everything is done by hand. It takes about to finish without the actual putting the finish on it. The course is about a month to finish the instrument, and then there is additional time that you spend on the finish and history of the instrument and so on. So, yeah, it's one guy is Pablo Requena, and he does 4 courses during the year.
Oh, wow.
And he has a student from all over the world. So that's how I started doing this.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. And
So,
I'm
JT,
yeah.
you're quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was like, we should talk to JT.
No, I'm just listening.
Yeah, JT.
I have no formal education with
That's okay.
instrument building at all, or haven't read any good books either. So,
How did you
Okay.
end up doing dulcimers? Did you just like decide to give it a shot one day and you were happy
gosh,
with it?
when I was about 13 or so, my best friend bought an instrument at a festival or a big from a man who built these upright mountain dulcimers, and years later, after I went to school, hadn't played music in forever, quit a job, just didn't get back on a plane to go to a job back in China. I met him. I ran into him one day, this guy, and I started working with him. And he hadn't had any formal education either. He was in construction. He was a stonemason. When he saw something similar and said, well, let me try making that. So he tried a few different methods. And when I met him, he was using CNC technology to route out bodies, or hiring that out, and essentially just assembling that to make his instruments. Worked with him for about 9 years, and a couple of years ago, I decided to strike out on my own and started trying to make the same type of instrument, but having everything, handmade and not using CNC. Nothing wrong with it. I was just sick of it at that point in time. So switch methods. Father-in-law built me a steam box. I just got a bending iron. So I've been trying different methods, from solid body builds to steam bending to just heat and moisture bending to create the frames, and just drawing out a shape and figuring out if I could make it. Yeah. So yeah.
Cool.
So I mean, everything you say about the technical stuff is all going to be news to me. I'll be like, all right. Tell me more.
That's really an awesome story. Evidently, I'm not hearing everybody. Only the 3 that I see on the screen: Joe, Jose, and fella in the overalls. I'm not sure what your name is.
JT.
JT. I'm Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Anyway, awesome story. And I really love that, because to me, with the machinery, the CNC and stuff, that's more or less just production. There's not any real passion or true love to that. And when you come to the hand tools and the feel of the wood, and it's just a whole different experience, and you grow to love it and have a passion for it, and that's where I'm at. I mean, yeah, I still use some things like a bandsaw and drill press, stuff like that, but mainly it's all done by hand. Other than making a few cuts on the bandsaw or something like that, and there's a true art to that, and the more you do it, the better you get, and the more your passion for it grows. But I just wanted to comment on that. I'm self-taught myself. I started out with the Irving Sloan book that my father had bought. It was a 1977 issue that he had bought, and I just fell in love with the book. And of course, my father being a master classical guitarist, it kind of helped push me along as well. But
Very cool.
I'll shut up. Let someone else talk. Hi,
I
Bill.
was going to say, JT, can we
Hi.
see the dulcimer behind you?
Let's see. Got one here. This is one my wife helped on. She's
Oh, there's
a
more than
jeweler.
one. Okay, I was saying about the one I could see on the screen. There's more than
That
one.
one was actually
Wow,
the first
okay.
one I got when I was a kid. That one I didn't build.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I don't
Okay.
build any traditional styles. I build these,
Oh,
lute
cool.
style dulcimers.
Oh,
I don't
cool.
build any of the
A
traditional
stick
styles
dulcimer,
yet.
right?
Yeah, you could call it that if you'd like.
Okay.
Most people will call it that because 80s started mass marketing his, and he called it a strum stick. So that's where you get that name, stick dulcimer. But it was the way you built it. It was just a stick that was kind of splayed out at the ends.
But the term stick
I'll call
dulcimer
it-
is copyrighted, so they go with strum stick is copyrighted, so they
Drumstick.
call it stick.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, McNally is a bit of a stickler on that too.
I see what
I
you
didn't
did
really want to call it a
Yeah.
stick dulcimer because, stick dulcimer. But yeah, that's what I built.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Very
Those sound
cool.
holes looked really interesting too. What are those?
This is do a lot of like historical
Oh.
festivals or Renaissance festivals. I did a lot
Nice.
of Highland Games, Grandfather Mountain
Oh,
Highland
that's
Games that
it.
we have here. Some unicorns. My wife actually cut those out. She's a jeweler, so
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
otherwise I'll use a jigsaw or a scroll saw to get out the center sound holes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you ever carved the sound holes by hand?
Not yet. Well, yeah, one time. My very first one. I was using a
Okay.
coping saw to cut out. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, not any of the intricate ways that you do, Joe.
You're too kind. No, I was just
Oh.
curious because, you get different. What's the word? You can achieve different shapes, right, depending on the tool. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Julia,
show off
how
one
do
of
you
yours?
cut your F holes?
Oh, I not everybody does it the same. But I was taught to use like circle cutters, which like it's basically like this little guy with like a little kind of circular blade, and so I just like drill a hole, I stick this in, and I turn it until it cuts out, the lower upper eye, and then I get like a coping saw and just kind of cut out most of it, and then I finish it off with a knife. So, but yeah, it
Very
takes
cool.
a while.
Cool.
I don't know.
Cool.
Some people are probably faster at it than I am. I get really like overly particular and like hyper focused on it. I have to take lots of breaks. You start like seeing everything wrong with it, and so yeah.
That's
I'll,
not about how
work on
fast
it.
you do it, right?
Yeah.
Unless you
Yeah.
get a deadline.
Yeah.
Well,
I know,
yeah.
that's the
Okay.
thing, right?
Fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting to I've been, living as a maker, like making my living as a maker now for this is like my second year of doing that, like just solely as my only income. It's definitely been interesting to kind of achieve that balance of, like I've got to get this done by a certain time so that I don't run out of
Oh, yeah.
money, but also need to do it a way that I'm happy with. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
Mm. That's always the challenge, isn't it?
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
How do you cut out your little like rosettes, Joe? I've seen.
Oh, so is this for lutes, you mean? Or
Yeah. I don't know if rosette's the
yeah.
right word.
So my
That's both.
my lute. Yeah, technically a rose, but people say rosette, and it's kind of it depends on the language as well. Because, for instance, I'm sure Jose will correct me. I probably got this slightly wrong, but in Spanish it's the same word. I think rosetta for both a
Rosetta,
lute
yeah.
rose and a guitar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really a bit of a semantic point. But yeah, so in English, strictly speaking, it's a rose on a lute and a rosette on a guitar when it surrounds the sound hole. Anyway, to answer your question, I do it with scalpels. So, as you can see, I'm not in my workshop right now. Otherwise, I'd literally just show you. But so, firstly, the blank space is cut out with what's called a deburring blade, which is like a triangular shaped one. And then once I've cut all the space, I create like a 3D effect with what's called a chisel blade, which is a kind of a flat one. And then that's how you create the kind of under over 3D effect.
Those are really cool. I was just looking at some of yours yesterday.
Yeah,
You're too kind. You're too kind.
I'm always wondering how you don't break those.
Yeah.
It's practice.
Like, I'm looking at that. It's like, you know, that is just a little sneeze and the whole thing goes.
Well, once the rose is finished, they're reinforced with like extra braces behind. So they're very thin braces, but they're dyed black and they go behind the rose.
Okay.
So this makes it so it won't break once it's finished. But yeah, once during cutting it, there's.
Yeah, I mean, I can say I was looking at one that you did where the grain, the grain was so short in there. It's like, oh my God, that's so fragile.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, the scary cuts are always the ones that are kind of on the inside.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at that. I think today. Did you post it today or something came up today? With
possibly.
Or yesterday. Man, I lose time.
Probably yesterday, because it was Friday yesterday, so I've been working. But like, yeah, I don't remember. It's pretty regular, isn't it? My spamming, shall we say?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't posted anything for a while because I lost my my train of thought and my inspiration. If I am not inspired, I don't want to be working on the guitar. So I lost my inspiration a little bit back, and then I had some construction in the house going on, and one thing another thing. Life gets in the middle of things.
Sounds like you have fewer deadlines as well.
No, but you know, I don't make a living out of this.
Okay.
You know, I retired a few years ago, and I'm doing this because I just love it.
Okay, fair enough.
So I only work on it when I really feel inspired. If I don't get inspiration, just working for the sake of work, I don't feel it. And I will tell you one thing: once this feels like work, I might stop it. This is for me, it's a passion.
Yeah,
not work.
Yeah, fair enough.
Jose and I are very close friends, and we get inspiration from each other.
You lost Jason, right?
I see him.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Jose and I are very close friends, and I believe we both draw off of each other as far as inspiration and everything. Although he has had a lot going on here lately, and he's been a tough one. I'm not giving up on him though. I'm going to keep poking at him and try to keep that inspiration going because I just love his work. If you guys hadn't seen any of Jose's work, you really should check it out. I mean, he's awesome.
Will do.
Cool. So I just wanted to pick up on one thing as well. On for those watching on the YouTube, let me see if I can do this again because they've moved about. Yeah. So that side, Bill.
Hi.
Is that Bill?
Yes.
Hi. Yes. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's
Because you weren't
Bill.
here when we did the instructions.
Yeah, my name's Bill. I live in Scotland. I was a bit late on because I was working outside. I had to clear up my workspace before it got dark.
No problem. And what sort of things do you build?
Anything. Violins. At the moment, I'm building a new banjo neck for one that's broken in half. So that's why I had to route the truss rod channel. Sometimes I have to use power tools. So, not my favourite tools, but I'm building an electric guitar at the moment. Also, I'm ashamed to say I'm building an electric guitar. Project.
Very cool.
Just made up scraps. So although I use power tools, the joinery is all hand joinery. I haven't got around to finishing it because I keep getting when lockdown finished, I started getting other work to do, and it's mostly repairs that I do. And violin bows as well. Just finished one, and I've got another 4 waiting to be haired. So I've got a buyer for one of them at least. I try and.
So whenever I see, sorry, go on.
No, I try and use traditional. I'm quite old school. I try not to use power tools, mostly because I don't have a dust extractor. I don't have a space to work in, so if I use power tools, it's always outside in my driveway.
Just to get good dust extraction.
Yeah, sorry, Joe, you were going to ask me a question there, were you?
So I'm in some Lutherie groups on Facebook, as you all know, and I quite often see violin makers say about how rehairing bows is the bane of their life.
Yes.
Can you explain to me what's that? Why is that?
A lot of bows that I get asked to rehair are very poor quality, and the mortise in the tip of the bow and in the frog, which is the bit you hold on to, but if there isn't enough wood left to recut it, then it's a real problem. It has to be slanted slightly so the wedge isn't not held in by force, it's held in by back to front pressure. I'll get a bow and show you, hang on. So this is a bow. The wedge, if you can see that, the wedge should be held in like that angle, so it's all the pressure. A lot of repairs are it's forced in side to side like that, and it splits the, which goes round and underneath the plug. So if it's badly cut, then it's hard to recut it. And another problem is like this bow here. When I did it, it was really tight, the hair, and after a couple of plays, it's relaxed, so it's very slack now. So now I have to take the hair out of the tip and move the knot up a little bit. It's very hard to get decent hair at the moment. So that's way too slack. I got a price from a supplier in China. I think it's $290 for half a kilogram of hair, which has gone up $100 in the last year.
Wow.
It's quite a big price increase. And,
Yeah, I had to get some. I had to get some horsehair when I was commissioned to build a morinkur, the Mongolian instrument, and because that uses it for the strings as well as the bow. I didn't build the bow, but I built the rest of the instrument, and so I had to twist the hair to make the strings. But on a bow, obviously, I presume it's not twisted. It's just.
You should be able to run a comb through it.
Okay.
I haven't got a comb with me. I don't use much, but you should be able to go from one end to the other and run a comb through without any snags, which is actually, it takes a lot of practice to rehair a bow. And when I was learning bow making classes in Cambridge, I spoke to a professional bow maker who worked in the next building, and he said it took him 5 years of working as a professional bow maker before he had the confidence to rehair bows without getting worried about what he was doing.
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
it's one of those things you have to be able to do it second nature, as we would like use a woodwork plane. You have to be able to do it without thinking
Mm.
about it. And there's various tricks like wetting the hair to it makes it expand, and then when you tie the knot and put it, it'll shrink. Some makers wet the
Okay.
hair and they use a flame to shrink hairs, but I'm not keen on that because
Wow.
it makes the hairs very bristle.
Yeah. Do you ever use like conditioner on it? Is that a stupid question? Would that make it more?
It would stop the rosin from working.
Okay, fair point. Okay.
When I've re-haired a bow, I always use some methylated spirit to clean it, because as you're working with it, your grease from your hand comes on the hair. So try not to get it on the stick because it can be finished with shellac-based finishes, which methylated spirits would damage the finish. So you've always got to clean it and then rosin it. So a good tip I got from America is to put some powdered rosin on the toothbrush.
Okay,
And
interesting.
you do it on both sides of the hair. That does help because newly haired bows are very hard to rosin. I'll get
And does
some
the hair have
nodding agreement there. Good.
does the hair have natural grease in it? Because I presume horsehair is.
It should be washed very well at the manufacturers.
Right. Okay.
I've seen videos of people in China because that's where most of the quality hair comes from. Say the Mongolian or Siberian horsehair, generally the good stuff, and they do wash it and they tase it with a steel comb to get the weak hairs out. But there's usually 3 grades. So it depends the grade you get, how much it's been graded. So 3-star graded
Interesting.
hairs should have no weak hairs in it at all, but you pay a lot of money for that.
It's got to be an
Julia, what's your experience with that? Oh,
I mean,
sorry.
I had to learn how to do rehairs a little bit at school. They just thought it would be good that we, do a little bit of everything. And some people do actually like really enjoy doing rehairs. I've definitely met people now who are like, I love rehairs. It takes me 30 minutes or something, which is like insane to me. I'm definitely one of those people where like, yeah, I did it for the week that they made me do it each year, and I was like, I'm never gonna do this. It's just like it drives me nuts. It's basically Bill already explained it a little bit, but you have like these little tiny pieces of wood called plugs that that hold the hair into the bow on either end, and you have to shape them just so that they are sitting in there with enough space for the hair to get past and also holding the hair in place, so it doesn't pop out while somebody's playing it. It's a very like delicate process of getting all of like the sizes just right and the tension just right, and then the hair itself is gonna like have its own kind of feel so that you're getting it wet and brushing it out, or at least that's how I was taught, is getting it wet. And it stretches, and then you shrink it, and then sometimes it's too short now, and you have to start over. It's there's a lot of like very important tiny little steps that you have to really pay a lot of attention to be good at it. And that's why like people practice, and it'll take them, like maybe hundreds of rehairs to really feel that they can consistently be really good at it, and a lot of times by then people have gone insane cutting little tiny pieces of wood. So they're just kind of, and then people get kind of stuck in this situation where they're really good at rehairs and nobody else wants to do rehairs, so they keep getting the rehairs at the shop or something. And it's not really what they want to be doing, but now they can't stop. That seems to happen to people a lot too. So yeah, it's definitely a certain mindset. I think that certain people can get very passionate about it, and I really admire that like line of thinking that you can pay attention to that many little tiny details in a way like Bill described, where it's just like coming naturally to you, so that you're not like constantly overthinking all these things. Like you're just like, this feels right and it's done, you know. Maybe if I kept at it, I would get better at it, but well, you know, as it is, I prefer working on actual violins and violas and not little tiny pieces of wood. Yeah.
You need very
Fair
delicate
enough.
hands to do rehairing, because tying the knots and other things are very,
Yeah.
very intricate. I've got football players' hands, so it doesn't come very easily to me. So
Yeah.
there
There's
is
a
one
lot
thing about bow makers that's different from other instrument makers. Bow makers love super glue. Especially, there's a brand called Hot Stuff that's absolutely the thing for bow repairs. It's used a lot. No, it's not very traditional, but that's what they use.
What were you gonna ask JT? You were gonna say something.
Oh no, it was just stupid comments. I was just thinking about the person's job it is to like grade the horsehair, you know.
Yeah.
And does it grow back? I guess like they cut it and it grows
Yes.
longer. Okay.
Yeah.
So have you ever just gone and like gone down to a farm and said, "Hey, can I get some
No,
hair?"
no, it's got to be from a stallion.
Yeah.
Mares are no good. It's got to be stallion's hair.
Okay.
Good.
And if you buy 500 kilograms of half a kilogram of hair, 500 grams, it probably comes from several different horses. It's not just one horse. Because they sort out the weak hairs. And I've just been following a debate recently that horse tail is thicker at one end and thinner at the other. So which end of the bow should you put the thin hair at? And the consensus seems to be you put the thick hair at the frog at the D ring, and the thin hair at the tip.
Yeah, so that you get more grip when you start, I think is the argument for that.
I think so, but I think it's another factor is that there's more space at the D ring. You can make the mortise a little bit bigger at the tip. Some tips of mortise are very narrow, and it's a real challenge to get a full lot of hair in. One of the other things is, depending on the strength of the stick, bow makers put different amounts of hair in, depending on how strong the stick is. So sometimes you'll start with the full length of hair and you have to take some out because the hair is stronger than the stick. Some sticks, like this one's actually quite a floppy stick, but it's made to a customer request, which is something thin and light to play baroque on. I've made a different one which is a bit thicker and a bit stiffer.
So what's the difference with the Baroque bow? Because obviously I build lutes and other historical instruments for customers, and they have like viol consorts and things. So I'm curious what the difference is in the bow construction.
Significant, actually. A Baroque bow is curved the other way. This one curves this way. A Baroque bow will have the curve and the hair underneath like that. It'll have the curve on. It can either be straight or have a curve like that, and the tip is totally different as well. It's there's no standard in Baroque. It can be absolutely anything you want it to be. So there's no pattern to build a Baroque bow. It's just whatever you want to make it. And early Baroque bows, the metal slide wasn't invented in the frog. Like this has a metal slide in here. In here is a metal slide. Early Baroque bows didn't have that. And the very early ones had a clip-in frog, so the hair was fixed into the bow and the frog was clipped in when you wanted to play it.
Right.
So it had no adjustment on it. So my next challenge is to build a Baroque bow. I'm waiting for my friend to loan me one so I can actually have a closer look at it. So there's a gentleman I follow in Holland who specialises in Baroque bows, and they're just they're just top of the range. Exquisite is the only word I can describe them. But there's a lot of different skills involved. You have to learn to make the whole thing. You have to be up to jewellery making. Work with sterling silver and gold. And the modern trend is to use silk thread instead of silver lapping on the grip there. That's sterling silver wire. But people use different colours. Silk now seems to be in vogue at the moment.
Interesting. So, Jose, what are you currently working on?
Well, right now my workshop is a bit of a mess. I'm building shelving from my daughter, but
Okay.
but what I'm working on a classical guitar built in the Torres style. So the bracing and everything else is in the Torres style. Although I make a lot of different modifications. One of them is the neck. My necks are all laminated necks. Most people have a one piece with a reinforcement neck for to make sure that there's no bowing on the neck. My necks are very laminated, so they are very strong. So I can go a little thinner on the neck, making it easier or more comfortable to play. So the playability is a little bit nicer. But yeah, I'm working on that guitar. I started working on the guitar and then kind of lost track. I got involved in a number of things, and I'm trying to get back to it. So from that guitar, what I have is the back is finished, the rosette is finished, the neck is finished, and now I need to go back to the top, which is arguably the most important part of the instruments. That's what creates the sound, really. The rest is just helping that sound come to life. So it will be a cedar top that I got from Canada, which is it was a sinker cedar that had been sunk in a lake for about 100 years. And now it's just come out and was melted, and it's just a beautiful piece of wood.
Cool.
Yeah, very old growth material.
Cool. I recently, this reminds me, I recently got hold of some, well, two things. I recently got hold of some 30-year-old spruce from a workshop which closed in like the 90s or 80s. That might be more than 30 years now. I'm so old, I don't know. But yeah, so I got hold of some European spruce, which was at least 30 years old, and also an Iraqi Kurdish friend of mine, has managed to source some cedar from North Africa, which is a related kind of species to Western red cedar, but it's slightly different and the smell's slightly different. So it's not a true cedar. It's not like cedar of Lebanon, but it's related. It's like a cypress. It's related to the Western red cedar, but it's I don't think I have it here. I think it's in the other room. But I previously built an oud with that, and it just the sound was really, really great. So.
Yeah, I love cedar. And spruce is the king. Among guitar makers. But I always like cedar almost right away. As soon as the guitar is finished and you plug the first note, the cedar is just just there. It doesn't have to improve too much. With spruce, you need a few years for the potential of the instrument to get there. But with cedar, it's just like right away.
That's been my experience too. Yeah.
I wonder why nobody.
Talking on cedar a little bit. They say that yes, indeed, cedar sounds good right away, and it doesn't improve much beyond that. But that's not my opinion at all, because I've got several guitars that I built with cedar tops back in like 2003 to 2005 that I have had the privilege of going back and seeing how they improved. And yes, cedar does improve as well. Maybe not as much as spruce, but it does indeed improve.
I think it's difficult to generalize on species of wood. It depends on the individual piece.
Sure, sure. Every piece
Yeah,
is different, and you have to feel it, and you have to, flex it, listen to it, and see whether it's going to work or not. But yeah, I find that spruce is more consistent in how it behaves. Cedar is all over the place, but when you find the right piece, it's just golden. This I wanted to show you a little bit about what I was talking about. My necks. I don't know if you will see it, but these necks have a number of. I don't know if you see the laminations going on,
Yes.
I kind of see it,
Um,
yeah.
and then the heel is completely laminated as well. So it's very thin in terms of for the player. This is what I was talking about. One of the things that I have modified, and I did that out of necessity. At one point, I was making a guitar, and I went for a neck blank, and I couldn't find one that was completely quarter sawn. So I had to cut it up and try to laminate it to get the grain orientation right until I found out that when you do that, the neck is actually stronger than the one piece of neck. So I started doing lamination all the time because of that.
That sounds quite similar to how I do my necks as well. So mine, I have a piece of hardwood which goes down the middle, and then two pieces of softwood, usually spruce or pine, surrounding that. And then, so the middle piece goes down into the mortise tenon joint at the neck. And yeah, as you say, it enables it to be, there we go, a nice comfortable for the player.
Right.
So, yeah. And then, of course, the whole thing is got veneer over it. So,
Yeah.
So we were talking about soundboards. JT, what do you use for soundboards?
Whatever I can get my hands on. I'll use everything from Purple Heart to spruce, cedar, cherry, walnut, really anything. And I'll just kind of play with it depending on the density of the wood until I can get where I think it's going to get a pretty good sound. Of course, with the harder woods, I'll plane it down a lot thinner. And then, like I said, everything else has been experimentation. Of course, we get more bass out of some of the softer woods, but when people are looking for more of a banjo-y sound, something that's porous, kind of like ash or oak, will kind of just hit the highs the way they want it to. So that'll work. It kind of comes out of the traditional mountain dulcimer tradition too, where some of your bodies are made of all kinds of woods, and that's nice because it's visually appealing that way without having to use any dyes or stains or anything like that. So yeah.
You actually use oak for the top?
Yes, I have. Yeah, red oak and white oak.
Wow.
So usually quarter sawn white oak. It's going to be a little more stable.
Have you noticed differences in tone between the woods?
I think traditionally one of the ways that classical guitarists determine when a top is thickness right is after it's joined and you start thinning it down, hold the top between your fingers and shake it and see if you get that rattle like you would a piece of sheet metal. In the instance of your instruments and the dulcimers, that wouldn't really be practical because of the size of it. What is your method of determining the correct thickness of any type of wood that you may use?
Honestly, it's been just getting the instrument built and seeing how it sounds. I've had the good fortune of, since I was working with another man for a decade, and his work was very production oriented. I could just do it over and over and over and over and over again. Try to figure out like what looks about right, feels about right, given the species. So, yeah.
There was a previous question. I think we're having some problems with delay again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I was just asking about since you've actually used like hardwoods and less hardwoods for your tops. I'm just really curious, like, what if you've noticed like a lot of tonal differences between like, something like using a spruce top versus like oak top or something like that, or if it all kind of ends up sounding similar to you.
I think it definitely depends on the size of the instrument. With the larger bodies that I build, it'll have more of a difference usually. But like I said, the denser woods or more porous and dense woods will not project or resonate the low tones as much. So it's finding that exactly what you want and that balance there. I guess since I haven't had any formal studies or really dive deep, then it kind of gives, I've got no preconceived notion on what I should do, and it's just let's see what happens when I do it. Just thinking about that wood that Jose, you said you found or that was underwater for years.
Yeah, that was a cedar. It's called sinker cedar.
Sinker cedar.
Sinker cedar. So that means the tree fell at some point in its life and just sunk in the lake.
Wow.
And it's been there. It was there for 100 years. So when it came out, obviously they dry it and everything else. But that tree probably was 300 years by the time that it fell, and then it spent 100 years sunk in a lake. And very well preserved. I had 2 sets of that, and each one is just marvelous. It's just to listen to the tone when you tap it. It is probably the best wood that I have listened to prior to being in an instrument.
I was curious about that. Did it visually have any differences? Did it have any sediment that was trapped in it?
The visual of the wood is beautiful. No matter how you orient the wood, you can see what is called in Spanish it's called espejuelos, which means little mirrors. So you can see the iridescent when you move it around, no matter in what angle or you put it. It's just. I mean, I am curious to see what happens when I plane it, because that is going to be. I mean, the wood is. It's not rough. It was sanded down to a pretty fine sounding, but the true test is when you plane it and it comes out and just shimmer all over the place. It is beautiful.
Very cool.
I don't see too much sediment, like strikes of dark versus lighter tones on the wood. I made a guitar out of cedar that I found one morning when I was taking a walk, and my neighbor across the street was throwing out the garbage, and he was throwing out some cedar shingles from his house. And I saw that, and I went to look at it, and it was beautiful. I mean, there was some shingles in there that was fantastic. So I picked it up, and I made 2 guitars out of it. Now, in those cedar shingles were about 100 years old. That had been in his basement for 100 years. That's how old the houses are here. It had a lot of sediment. So you could see the strikes on the wood, and when I put some shellac and started doing some French polishing on it, it was fantastic. It looks great. But this one doesn't have that. This one is more shimmering all over the place. It's just fantastic.
It's fascinating. Yeah, I was lucky to get to work with some really old redwood about 7 years ago, and these brothers had found this fallen tree in a river, and you could see all the sediment, like once it was cut and everything. You saw these beautiful black lines in between the grain.
Right.
It was like 2,000 years old. This tree, the full tree was.
Wow.
Right.
It was fascinating. Had an excellent sound to it.
Well, serious. You can fall in love with it.
Yeah.
I like to repurpose wood as much as I can. So as soon as I saw cedar in the garbage, it's like I gotta make a guitar out of this. So it was great.
Do you, Jose, do things on commission, or do you just make things and sell them to
No, I just make things. I just make things and sell them. I had to be inspired, and everybody has a slightly different process on how they attack a particular instrument. With me, I always start with the rosette. I make the rosette first. So I come up with the design for the rosette, and I make that rosette. I don't work directly on the top. I work on a piece of MDF where I have routed the shape of the rosette, and I work in there. After I have cut all the little pieces, and I have created the blocks and the tiles for making the center thin and all of that. So I build the rosette on that MDF. And so when I put it on that MDF, that rosette is there only held by pressure. There is no glue, there's nothing in there, only the veneers that go around, the tiles, everything is done by pressure. So once that I am happy with that, I put that aside and start working on the guitar. And normally my guitar has a rosette and a back strip that are the same thin. So those are the 2 things that I work at the beginning, because it's very time consuming. If I'm not happy with that, I can't continue with the guitar. So, and then the rest of the guitar, color, woods, and so on, just follow from there. My rosette is the things that take more time to make. I do it first. Rosette, neck, then I work on the top and back, and the rest. Because you don't want to start working on a guitar or any instrument, and the last thing that you're going to put in there, which is very difficult to set up and all of that, you screw that up, the whole project is gone. So you wanna do the things that are taking most time, and that you know that I'm happy with that. So I know that I'm not going to mess that up when I'm finished with it. That's my process anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Julia, how'd you get started doing what you do?
Oh, So I started off playing classical guitar, like I mentioned a while ago. I made friends with like a guitar tech at a shop, and he eventually decided to go off to one of the other violin schools, like Red Wing, which is mostly a repair school, but they do a little bit of making there as well. Um, and he loved it like so much that he just like called me up one day and he was like, "You have to do this." Like it was like violin making's the greatest thing in the world. Like you should really like, because I had been kind of thinking about guitar making, and he was like, "Don't do guitar making, do violin making." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll check it out." And I actually like, yeah, I'm really glad I picked that profession. Like I love guitars too, but I don't know. There's something that's really nice to me about violins. They're just like very, I don't know how to explain that. They feel very like personal, like friendly, like they're like little and they have like kind of a lot of little things going on that give them a lot of personality that I love, which isn't to say that guitars aren't like that at all. There's like a lot of really beautiful stuff about guitars. I've got a guitar on the wall here I keep looking at. But but you know, yeah, I just loved it. Like I'm really like a very detail oriented person. And every single job I'd ever had was people telling me like, "Oh, that's fine. You can stop there. Like that's good enough." And I really didn't like that. And I feel like in violin making, it's like really respected to like take it that step further. Like I spent like way too long making this perfect, and people are like, "Wow, good job." You know?
Yeah, that feels good, right?
Practical. Yeah. And and you know, I see now that I'm, you know, been in the industry for a little bit longer, and I've met some other luthiers in different parts of the field, you know, guitar makers and lute makers and things like that. I'm seeing that like, oh, there is a lot of that sentiment, you know, in other versions of Lutherie as well. But at the time, I wasn't really seeing that among like the guitar makers that I had met anyway. So I wanted to make sure I was going into something that was really like, um, you know, going to respect the effort I wanted to put into it. And so I just I went to North Bennett Street School because it was supposed to be a really good school, and it was a really good school. It was a great program, and I'm glad I went that route. I don't think everybody needs to go to school necessarily, but for me, I kind of like that structured feel. So. Um, yeah, that's kind of just how I ended up doing it. And I learned a lot about violins. I play violin a little bit now. And yeah, I just really enjoy it. So yeah.
That sounds very cool. By the way, I love the those guillotines.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of really strange earrings. My friends run a local, like, kind of art festival thing that happens every month, and I usually go and buy something crazy. Yeah. Well, Joe, are you, I never asked you actually how you got into making your instruments. I mean, like, did you just go for that? I'm interested in how everybody got into everything.
Oh, so I'm self-taught, mostly self-taught. So I was kind of, yeah, I was trying to think really. I've always been obsessed with sound and music, as I'm sure we all have. And kind of when I got to a certain point where I wanted to create new sounds or get hold of instruments from around the world that I couldn't really get hold of otherwise. And so at some point, I had the stupid idea of, I know, I'm going to make them instead. And about 10 years of learning that later, teaching myself, I was at a point where I was able to go full time with it. And then, yeah, for the last 5 years, I've been doing that for a living. So that's how I got into it. And along the way, I picked up a fascination or an obsession with particularly the oud, but also the lute and various other instruments. So the oud is my my main instrument that I play nowadays, but obviously I build a wide range of other things. So yeah.
What was that first historical style instrument?
The
Sorry,
first
I was.
historical, good question.
You're the first one that like drew you into doing what you're doing. Because I've seen you do a lot of different styles.
Good question. So I guess the first one I built, or the first one that got me into like the obsession of it.
Either way.
Okay, so the first one I guess that got me into the obsession of it was probably either Baroque guitar, maybe the vihuela or the lute. But the first one I would have built would have been the Baroque guitar. So because yeah, building lute bodies came later. That was something that took a lot more practice. But yeah, I guess that's the answers. I got a message from Jason, by the way. He wanted me to share with you all that he's having some connection problems, and he can't hear some of the people in chat because of the connection problems. So he wants me to apologise on behalf of him, or he wants to apologise and say that he's not intentionally speaking over anyone nor speaking out of turn. So yeah, and I imagine in a few seconds or minutes he will react to me saying this, but he's not yet. So also, we last time we did this, there was only 4 of us last time, but last time we did this, we went for about an hour, and we're now at an hour. So I don't know how long you want to keep going with this, but if you've still got things you want to talk about, then by all means, I've got until 10 o'clock my time, so that's another hour. But if any of it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm good to keep going. I think I've finished work for the day, so.
Oh, nice. I do have to leave in a little bit. I was only planning for like an hour or something. So, but I can stick around for a minute if anyone has any last second questions or anything.
Same. I've got to run back to the workshop to get some things going before it gets dark. But yeah.
Yeah.
I was interested before when you were saying you have guitar friends that like a banjo type sound. I thought that could only happen in America because most guitar players I know hate banjos.
that is something I heard about, but I don't understand why.
Yeah, the joke is, how do you tune a banjo with a Stanley knife?
Right. I heard about that. Don't know.
I have a banjo, so I'm not prejudiced. So.
Yeah, I like banjos.
I like a banjo.
Yeah. What style do you play?
I play Irish music, so I haven't really learned it yet. So I broke my hand very badly 2 years ago, so I'm still struggling with it. So I need an artificial thumb joint apparently, so it's good if I played at all.
I actually own a banjolele. It's a banjo ukulele. It was I found it in a Goodwill store or like a thrift store, and when I brought it home, I got into the back of it and realized it was made in 1923. And the current condition it's in now, the top needs to be replaced. The skin needs to be replaced. So I don't play it now, but very loud, and it's a lot of fun. Although when you talk about classical guitarists, classical guitarists hate the sound of banjos, or a guitar that sounds like a banjo. On the other hand, in bluegrass, mountain type music, which around here, the Appalachian people, they love the banjos, the dulcimers and stuff. JT can really relate to that, and of course, I'm well rounded with music cultures and stuff like that. So I can't say that I hate the banjo, but applied to a classical guitar, yes, I wouldn't care for that either.
I love a bluegrass band.
Could be
I
worse,
played in
could be a
bluegrass band
bagpipe.
at one time.
Right.
It could be that.
Somebody's phone.
Someone's phone is ringing, I think.
Yeah, that wasn't my house, but somebody picked up.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah. Any more questions?
I'm along with the majority of. There are things I need to get back to doing myself. So,
Yeah, no problem.
I'd say we move forward into closing this out if that's your wish to do so.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
That's
good.
So let's
That's good. That was
let's
it was
apply.
enjoyable.
Yes, thank you everyone for taking part. It was very enjoyable, and 3 people have missed out, but that's their loss.
I would like to apologize. Earlier, I couldn't see everybody. I'm seeing all 6 right now, and I couldn't see or hear everybody. And I realize now that I was talking over some others. What's the other lady's name?
I'm
Julia.
Julia? Yes. Julia, my sincere apologies. I didn't mean to talk over you. I realize now that I was probably doing that, and that's why Joe was laughing at me. So,
No, that's
but,
okay. I mean, I think we figured out like after maybe the second time that there was definitely like some kind of audio issue there. So it was a little
Yep.
funny still, but we weren't like, oh, how dare you?
right. But evidently, I missed out on a lot that you said, and I wished I hadn't. But
Now you can watch it on the
again,
replay.
there you go.
And, you know,
But
you
again,
make sure you
apologies for talking over you. If
no problem.
obviously I was doing that.
That's all right. I appreciate
Okay.
it though, but you're good.
Well, there we go. The French polish is dry, and now we shall ship out the instrument. 3,
There we go.
2, 1.